Next, Sharron Davies, a former Olympic medal-winning swimmer for Great Britain, is calling on sporting authorities to urgently research the impact of trans athletes competing in women's sport. Ms Davies, who won medals at the Commonwealth and Olympic Games, says that those with a male sex advantage should not be able to compete in women's sport. At the moment, the International Olympic Committee allows people that have transitioned from male to female to compete in women's sport, providing their levels of the male hormone testosterone are below a certain point for the 12 months prior to an event. Testosterone helps boost muscle growth and is found in higher levels in men than women. Tennis champion Martina Navratilova was criticised for making similar comments recently. In a moment, we will talk to Lucy Clark, who is a trans referee. First, let's talk to Sharron Davies. Good morning to you, Sharron Davies. Thank you for coming on the programme.
Thank you, Victoria.
This is about whether trans women athletes have a physical advantage. What are you worried about?
And it's very specific. You know, this is not something that's aimed at the transgender community. I would say myself and most of my friends are all very, very pro. This is absolutely about a level playing field in sport, and the fact that a transgender man that transitions to a woman can compete in a man's race and it'd probably be at a disadvantage, whereas a transgender man that's converting to be a woman will have a physical advantage. And so that's just not fair on everybody else in the race, really. And I spent 10 years racing against these Germans. Although it was a different process, it was the same result. I was standing there next to people that meant no matter what I did in training, no matter how hard I worked, I couldn't beat them.
Is this for you about trans women who haven't had gender reassignment or gender confirmation surgery? So biologically, they still have the body of a man.
Not really, although in America at the moment there are 17 states where young boys who identify as girls can race against girls up to high school level, which is 18. And we've seen some races where they've been able to get scholarships for women, scholarships to go to university, and that must be very difficult. You know, an 18-year-old boy who's not on any form of chemical or surgical help is just a boy. I mean, he's absolutely biologically a boy. So, you know, and they're going to be big and strong and strapping at 18 years of age. No, this is just purely about the physical advantages that something that's there when you're born stays with you for the rest of your life. I mean,
OK, so those, sorry to interrupt, those rules brought in by the International Olympic Committee in 2016, where they say testosterone levels, which will have been present in a trans woman's body since birth because they were born a male, have to have been below this particular level, a certain level, for at least 1 year before their first competitive event. You say that's not enough?
Sadly, it's not enough. I mean, it used to be 2 years and it's been fairly recently changed to 1 year. So it's only a 12-month period now. And what I'm saying is that, you know, biologically, if you go through puberty as a young male, you come out with the other side with all the benefits of a larger heart. You're probably taller and stronger. You certainly have more testosterone, which will have given your muscle memory. You have more red blood cells. You have a denser bone structure. All of these things won't go. They will stay with you. The things that are part of your DNA will stay with you.
What about the point made by some that there is no real level playing field in sport already? You have competed against women who are smaller than you, taller than you, bigger than you, more muscly than you, less muscly than you.
Yeah, you say that, although obviously in the Olympic final we're all pretty much the same. I mean, I have to say, most people that get to the Olympic Games in swimming are all quite tall. Most people that get to the Olympic Games in gymnastics are all quite small. Most people who get to, you know, major competitions in basketball are all quite tall. So what happens is that you go off towards to do the sport that physiologically you know that there's some benefits for. So I certainly wasn't in my race competing against people that were 4'6" or 7'2". They were all pretty much my height. So that's what we're, you know, it is as level a playing field as we can get, and we're constantly trying to keep it level. That's the whole point of WADA and the International Doping Federation. You know, we're trying all the time. But this kind of makes a mockery, really, of that in a way, because you're just saying that someone that has those genetic benefits can go in and compete against women. And we've made such massive strides in women's sport over the last few years. It would be a real shame if we lost some of that impetus.
You will know that Rachel McKinnon, who is a trans athlete who won a UCI Masters Track World Championship title in October, and she says got 100,000 hate messages after that as a result.
And I think that's terrible. I have to say, I genuinely think that's terrible.
Yeah, of course. She says that you are a transphobe and you are sharing hate speech, and potentially that's because you are treating trans women as men, just pretending to be women.
No, I'm not. I'm treating transgender women as people that were born as men with the male benefits. So I just think we have to be real and honest about this. That's all, an open and honest debate. And I'm really interested to talk to Rachel. I mean, I've never spoken to Rachel before in my life, so I don't really understand why she thinks she can say those things, because she doesn't know me at all. I pride myself on the fact that, I was in a mixed race relationship. I've got mixed race children. I'm not sexist. I'm not ageist, and I treat people as I see them. And I will carry on trying to do that and not be abusive to anybody. So I just want a fair and honest debate, really, and I want it backed up by medical science. I think it's really important that we can engage all the authorities, the IOC, all the different governing bodies, and a lot of medical research to be able to try and find solutions.
Okay.
And I think the solution is such that we need to have, separate competitions, or maybe a transgender games. There's got to be solutions for everybody, really, in this.
Okay. Rachel emails this to you. As a trans woman currently going through transition, may I say that the comments deeply hurt me. Being trans is not a choice, it's part of us. I thought everyone was encouraged to participate in sport and exercise. The comments to me sound like the person who made them, A, does not understand what trans people are about, B, treats trans people as a separate category of people, which is discrimination. And she should be brought to book to face that, and C, doesn't want to be beaten in any shape or form. I think she should have thought more carefully before making her comments. Perhaps she's uneducated in how trans people feel, but that is no excuse.
But you know what, Victoria? I mean, I've got a Twitter account, and 99% of the people that responded to me, including many transgender women, are not saying that at all. So I think at the end of the day, I think the transgender community is less than 1% of the population, and half of those would be men and half of those would be women. And again, half of those don't choose to transition, which means to actually move from, they're still transgender, but they don't change their sex. So I think we're talking about a very, very small part of the population. I sometimes think in this world that the majority always lose out to the minority. And I think in my place, I'm quite happy to stand up. I've got fairly broad shoulders. I'm not competing anymore. My sponsors can't pull away my sponsorship. I'm just prepared to stand up and fight for the rights of fair play. That's all.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you, Sharron Davies, in her first TV interview since she made those comments at the weekend. Let's talk now to Lucy Clark, who is a trans woman and also football's first trans referee. Good morning to you, Lucy Clark. Thanks for talking to us. First of all, what do you say to Sharron Davies?
Okay, so, I mean, the fact of the matter is that transgender people have been allowed to compete in the Olympics since 2003, but none have actually made the qualifying mark. So,
So it's a fuss about nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate, both sides of the argument, but I mean, let's look to the future and the future of the young transgender children of today. Now, they will have puberty blockers, so they're not going to go through the male puberty. Estrogen is an absolutely wonderful thing. And once you've got that into your body, it does create lots and lots of changes.
Sure. But what about the trans women athletes who are competing now, who in some cases still have the body of a biological male? And despite the rules saying that in a year up to competition, you have to keep testosterone levels below a certain limit, people like Sharron Davies, people like Martina Navratilova argue, look, they've got the advantage of having testosterone in their body from birth. They've got muscle mass, they've got power.
Okay, so when you take estrogen, and we also take testosterone blockers to block the testosterone, so our testosterone is very, very low. And the estrogen has the effects on the body where it reduces your muscle mass, it reduces your bone density, you have lower speed, lower stamina, lower strength. So all the physical advantages that you may have gained, you kind of lose. So the fact that the Olympic Committee, who've done lots of research into this, are saying that providing transgendered athletes reach certain levels, that they're allowed to compete, and that's really the way it should be.
And would you describe Sharron Davies or Martina Navratilova as transphobic?
Okay, so they've joined the debate, and I really don't think, in my opinion, that they've done full research. Martina retracted her comment that she made about the transgender people that cheats. I think they really need to look into both sides. It needs a lot of balance. At the moment, there's not balance. They're being fed information from various sources, but they're not getting the balance from both sides. So I wouldn't say transphobic, no. But I would say that they need to be careful on what they tweet and what they retweet, because some of the stuff that is retweeted, there is transphobia in there. Now, if they're retweeting it, it's kind of an endorsement, especially if they're endorsing the tweet that they're retweeting.
Right. And what about the suggestion that trans athletes should have a separate category of competition?
Come on, it's 2019 now. There wouldn't be enough for it. I mean, if they were great, you know, I'll win a few Olympic medals. I'm sure there's some discipline that I could excel in. It's totally unfair. We are human beings. Nobody chooses to be transgender. So, you know, give us a break. Stop bashing us up, because it's a little bit unfair. There are already rules and regulations in there. And as I say, once people do the HRT, there's a lot of physical and mental, you know, stuff that they have to fight against.
Okay.
So, you know, let us compete in sport, providing that they reach the right levels. Listen, you know, they're not allowed to go competitive in all of these sports, because pretty much every sport has got you know, levels and limits and things that transgender people must adhere to. So providing that they meet them regulations, just let them compete. And as I said, nobody won an Olympic gold medal. So come on, let's have a bit of a reality check on this, please.
Okay, this text from Susie. I agree with Sharron Davies. It's so obvious that trans women would have a physical strength advantage because they were born men. Sharron is brave to speak up. Lammy on Twitter says, I assume Sharron Davies is also asking for 5'11" women with above average size hands and feet to have their own swim category. SJ tweets this. Sharron is right. What she is saying is logical, not hateful. Thank you so much, Lucy. Thanks for coming on the programme. We appreciate your time. Lucy Clark, and before that, Sharron Davies. Your views welcome.